Hello, and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While. It's a show in which I chat with authentic, heart centered experts about interesting topics to spark, inspire, and motivate both personal and professional change. And today's topic is how to be a magnet for your goals through human design. This conversation is worth your while because when you discover who you naturally are, you can finally let go of who you're naturally not. And just wouldn't you love to have your own personal instruction manual revealing the hidden understanding of how exactly to map out your life? Well, if you are ready to feel more solid in who you are and become a magnet for your goals, you're going to love today's episode because today we're going to be talking about how knowing yourself through human design allows you to find the opportunities that you're looking for and avoid all those usual roadblocks. So I am Linda Bucher. I am a speaker and a master certified life coach. And after living the life of a chameleon and feeling like a victim for 45 years, I finally discovered who I am. And I discovered a lot of it before I even knew human design. And now that I'm learning more about human design, I'm like, whew, there's even so much more to know. And I am loving it and embracing it. And so basically, I have connected with my passion and my purpose. And then I reinvented my life to align with my true self. I'd say that past tense, but I'm actually still doing it. And every day I become a happier, more confident, more fulfilled person because of it. But most importantly, the transformation of discovering who you are and aligning your life within it results in confidently unleashing your gifts to the world. And that is like, woo, feels so amazing. So now it's my honor and my privilege to help you do the same in your life because you too have a rich, full life to lead and you have very important gifts to get out into the world. You do have a splash to make. And for that to happen, you've got to do 5 things. It's really simple. You got to know your worth. You got to become clear on your purpose. You've got to harness your gifts and own your power. You've got to align your energy and direction, and you've got to free yourself from all the obstacles that want to hold you back. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. Kate does it one way, my wonderful guest. I do it another way. You put those things together and woo! So I just want to welcome my guest today, Kate Varness. And Kate is a certified coach and a human design specialist, and she helps high-achieving women to connect to their peace and their flow and their purpose. And if you just went, yeah, I want some of that, you're going to love speaking with Kate. So Kate, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm delighted to be here.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and who you serve and how you are making big, beautiful ripples in the world?
So I've been a coach for a long time, over a decade, and I come from a background as a professional organizer. But in 2019, I came online to a new environment and I discovered that I needed to up-level things in a whole different way.
Mm.
That's when I discovered human design, and I don't know where I would have been without it. So my passion is to just really help those powerful, high achieving women who may be secretly struggling underneath to take away any of those obstacles so that they can not only reach their goals, but feel a sense of peace with it, not in conflict, not in resistance, and then really tap into that flow experience, which we love, right?
Oh my God, so totally, so totally. The flow is awesome. Well, thank you. And today I am so excited for what we're going to be doing and what we're talking about and what we're going to be sharing with the audience today. So today's topic, once again, is, be a magnet for your goals through human design. Now, we are each here. I know this, Kate knows this, and somewhere within inside you, you know this too. We are each here to fulfill a purpose, to get the gifts that we've been given out into the world and to do something important with them, to make a splash that ripples positively and affects other people. But we've got all these roadblocks that are in our way. The first roadblock is, who, me? I'm supposed to do something bigger than this life? Yes. And the next question is how, right? And then once you find out how, you're like, I can't do that. We don't want to heed the call. But what if you had an instruction manual that just made it feel more natural for you to move through the world and get your gifts out into the world in a way that feels natural instead of like this, I don't know how, because guess what? You do know how, and there is an instruction manual. That is what is so exciting today to speak with you, to speak with Kate about today. So, knowing yourself through human design allows you to find the opportunities that you are looking for and avoid all the usual roadblocks. Kate, can you tell us a little bit more about what that means?
Sure. And let me just say, if you haven't heard of human design, it's a little bit like one of those systems that help you know yourself better, like the Myers-Briggs or the Enneagram. Except with those systems, you're using your preferences to create that category or pattern. With human design, we're using your astrological birth information. So it human design is a combination of Western astrology, ancient wisdom systems like the Kabbalah, the I Ching, the Hindu Brahmin chakra systems, and it pulls it all together in this really kind of complex system. When you first see your human design chart, it's like, whoa, what is this thing? It can be quite overwhelming. And so, what I would suggest to you, because we're going to show an example today, is that you just take it in. Don't worry about it being too complicated, and know that wh- you can understand it and apply it. It's the application to me that is the most important piece of human design, to use it as a jumping off point.
Mm. Yeah, I love that you say it's the application because I have done the Myers-Briggs and the disc analysis, and the Colby index. And the beautiful thing, like I mentioned earlier, is once you discover where you naturally are, like on a spectrum, say, you can't be on all points on the spectrum. You're at this point, right? So on the disc analysis, I'm like a 97 I influencer, like 97, about almost as high as you can get, right? So that's what's natural to me. On the Colby Index, I'm a quick start, which is like the opposite of a fact finding person who wants to dive in and get all, and I might not be saying this exactly right because I'm not an expert in any of these systems. However, I know I'm conceptual, and on that scale, implementers on the other end, and I'm super high in the concept. So if I'm a visionary and I'm more conceptual, then no wonder I'm no good at the implementation. I can't be on all the points of the spectrum. So it gave me, every time I take one of these, it gives me permission to be like, oh, that's not who I am on this, not that. Oh, okay. So now I don't have to beat myself up. Like, why don't you ever implement well? Why don't you finish things? Why do you, right? I don't have to beat myself up. I get to know myself better. However, what's missing is what you're saying, the application. Okay, now that I know in my Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENFP, sometimes SP. What do I do with that? Right? How do I apply it? So I love that. I did look up my own human design and I read a little bit about what I discovered, and I was like, oh, yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. But then the question is, so what do I do with this? And that's why I'm so excited that we're going to be talking about this today. And
Yes. So it put this into the context of you've got a goal. But even before that, I want, you notice like you're being pulled, you've got kind of like this unease within you, restlessness maybe, and you're like, oh, there's something else. And so are you going to answer that call, like you said before? But when you say, yeah, I'm going to do that goal, or I'm going to take a step, what happens in that moment?
mm,
you start to question, can I do this? Am I courageous enough? But here's the piece that I want you to know: to be a magnet, to really draw that goal to you, you need to be so clear on what you have to give.
mm,
And so there's a conflict here, right? You're in the new situation, which is going to naturally be like, okay, I need to learn from other people. I need to like get advice, all of those things. And it pulls you away from trusting yourself. So
100%.
it is one of
Every
those
time I do that,
situations.
you are right. It does.
So this is what I encountered when I was coming on to taking my business to an online setting. I was like, oh, I can do this. And then I started to take the actions and I was like, oh my gosh, this feels really scary. But I was giving all my power away to other people to tell me what to do and not leaving any space to know myself. And so that's where the human design piece came in and became so valuable, is to understand like um, well, I guess we can show, I can
Yeah.
show in your chart some
All
of the
right.
places where could magnetize towards your goal or things you might want to look out for when you're moving towards that goal.
Right. Beautiful. So what Kate has just alluded to is I have volunteered to be a guinea pig. So I know a lot of, so many of my wonderful guests have, really fabulous sessions to help you move forward towards your goals. And they offer that, but you never know what you're going to get. So Kate decided, she's like, oh, I'll show them what they're going to get. So I'll read your chart and do my magic on you, Linda. And I'm like, I'm not scared. Let's get to it.
Yes, you are an inspiration, and literally we can see that in your chart.
Oh,
So, actually, I want to highlight that just immediately. Um, here's what you're looking at. You've got three parts to a chart. You've got this information, which is important. The first steps is what you're going to be looking at, this keynote information. We're not going to get into how the numbers and the symbols and all of this, but take a look at this chart. Imagine it's like a subway system for you to understand and how you're operating. And they say it takes like 7 years to understand human design. And I absolutely believe that because I've been deepening my knowledge for years. So the best thing that you can do if you're just discovering your chart is to have a session with somebody who can say, how does this apply to me? And to give you like first, second, and third steps. So can we do that with you, Linda?
you can, you can. I'm excited. I can be a serial volunteer. I'm like, oh, yeah, me.
Right.
Let's do it.
So it looks a little bit like a human body here. And so if you know about chakras, there's the idea is that we are energetic beings. And so we're receiving information here through the head, making sense of it in what's called the ajna center. And because this is colored in for Linda, it means she brings the inspiration to the party. You bring the you know your expertise and all of that in a way that kind of illuminates others and inspires them. And so that's a pretty good thing to know about yourself, right? Some people have this in white, and so they may be more receiving it in. So these are the two, this is the one of the key concepts to understand about human design is that there's nothing wrong with anybody's chart. Your chart is beautiful. It's really just like, how is this computer set up? How is the subway designed? And so you've got things that are colored in and you've got things that are in white. And when it's colored in, it means that the idea of that center, each of these are centers, is going to be something you experience consistently. So let me ask you, Linda, do you consistently have an inspiration that you are bringing to other people?
Yes.
Is that the understatement of the century?
It really is. I mean, I used to refer to myself as an idea factory just in any conversation. I'm like, ooh, you could, or what if, right? So that's happening. And then the other thing that happens all the time is um, I I'm at my best when I'm in a conversation because things just kind of flow through me, to me, and out of my mouth. and
Yes.
and then I'm like, I don't even know where that came from because it wasn't something that I thought about and calculated or sometimes even drew from another piece of knowledge. I'm like, I don't know where that came from, but that was genius. You need to write that down, Linda. You need to take your own advice. so, so I experience that all the time. And I think that's, maybe why I landed in being a life coach is it's this stuff that comes through me and to me is such a benefit. My clients tell me they're like, wow, so, and I don't try to make a path like specifically in this session, we're doing A, B, and C. I just let it, whatever flows and comes based on our conversation is what comes. And I never have to worry because there's always something coming through.
Yes. And it's about how to be in the now, how to
Mm.
behave in the now or show up to the now, would you say?
Yes, a lot of time it is, yeah,
Yeah.
about how to reinterpret what you've been experiencing so that the next time you shift your perception and then you can show up differently. and also releasing, the the old perception, so it no longer makes sense for you anymore, and then experimenting with it between sessions, and then you come back and you tell me about it, and then that's how we reinforce that it's actually working, the changes, the shifts that they're making internally through what we're talking about, and then the releasing of the old beliefs and the old perceptions. So yeah.
Right. And so um, there's all numbers that are spread across. There's 64 different numbers, which are like archetypes. And the ones that Linda has defined, because they were in the position of the planets at the time of her birth. That's what we're looking at here. This is also a factor. It's hard not to get into the weeds with human design. Boy, let me tell you. But this piece of being connected to speaking to the throat, it's all about who you're being. And
Mm.
so just to say, like, these are the pieces that are defined in you, Linda, that allow you to just bring forward this beautiful purpose that you are sharing with others, that you're shining the light on. And what we can look at is this top number right here. Sometimes it's called your brand. And this brand is all about, what's the story I'm telling about myself? And am I pausing enough to be conscious of it? Right. So
Absolutely.
it's about who we're being and communicating that. And so these are central pieces of who you are. And so knowing that allows you to say, okay, well, how does my goal align with my gifts? So that's one piece of the chart that allows you to know, have certainty about what you're here to do. But then look at, we've got some open centers. We call them open centers or undefined, and they're in white. And that's not a bad thing. It just means that those are areas where you're not consistently defined. You're not bringing the energy, you're absorbing the energy like a sponge.
Mm.
And the problem with that is that you could be unconsciously absorbing messages about who you should be and how you should be acting. And this is what causes that resistance when you're in a new situation or when you're courageously stepping towards your goals, is that you may be unknowingly like soaking in some of those other messages that really have nothing to do with you.
Um,
Um,
did you notice that when I said for 45 years of my life, I felt like a chameleon? Right. So
yeah.
and the big giant aha I had is I was, you know, uh, and I actually wrote a book, I have a book on my website about it that's just a free download. And it's about success on your own terms. Cause I discovered finally that my entire life I had been chasing someone else's definition of success. And I never asked myself what it meant to me. So I could see that I was just like taking in, everyone says success looks like this. I'll do that. I'm going to climb this corporate ladder. And then I get to be 45. I'm like, wait a minute. This ladder is leaning against the wrong building. I don't want to be on that building. So, and even in the 14, almost 15 years that I've been a coach and doing this, when it comes to the business, not coaching, I've always been like, that's the natural piece. But the business, even though I had a master's degree in business, and I worked in the corporate world for like 27 years, I came into business and then I went online and I said, okay, everybody tell me how to do this. And then I believed them all. And I wasted tens of thousands of dollars trying to do it other people's way, recognizing that it wasn't working and that I kept doing it over and over. Like I was not learning, like, why do you keep doing it other people's way? And that when I'm doing that energetically, I have this sorry, I'm closed sign across my forehead. And none of those beautiful, wonderful people that, I'm meant to work with come to me when I'm in the doing it someone else's way, that I'm closed. I'm sorry, we're closed. It's like neon. It's crazy. And so I can totally see where I can be, and then having strong, like strong parental and family influences of advisors. Everyone's telling you what to do all the time. And then really listening and trying to do it their way for so much of my life. Crazy. But I see why on this chart. It's right there.
Right. So let's just look at what would some of these obstacles be. obstacles. I mean, meaning just like, here's the dynamic is that I'm soaking this stuff in without realizing that it's not mine. Okay. So let's just look at what some of those themes might be in your chart. Starting here would be being in a hurry to get things done so you can get it over with. That's the conditioning that's in this root center. The conditioning of the sacral is not knowing when enough is enough.
Mhm.
And as your type here, the projector type, is really not here to be the energizer bunny. You're here to be the advisor, the guide. And so you could be burning yourself out like crazy by using that, our Western model of work until you drop. Like that is not right. That's a not right strategy for you, but it's a tendency if we're not aware of it.
Mm.
This open will center, the undefined will, is trying to prove yourself. So there's pressure here to keep working, even though it's not for you, to try to prove yourself that you're worthy. And the this undefined solar plexus is wanting to avoid conflict. So that creates a whole nother layer of issues, as well as the spleen center, which is holding on to things that aren't good for you for too long. And there can be a lot of fear that's soaked in, not just your own, but the collective, and it can feel very unsafe. And so these particular things working under the surface, if you're not aware that it's not yours, can quickly run the show. And what happens is that you're attributing, what are you attributing your lack of success to? Is it something you're doing wrong? Well, what if it is that you're just assuming things that really aren't true about you? And then you get to have a choice to say, actually, I'm taking this information in, but if I remove myself from this situation and get back into my gifts and focus in on that, then I can let this go. It can drop away.
Yeah, I can see that. And I am very aware that all those undefined centers ruled my life until I was 45. Like that was all me, all of that, not knowing I was good enough, being a perfectionist, overdoing, overworking, um, exhausting myself and not knowing my human design, but being trained and naturally who I am, being trained as a coach and a master coach. um, if you're a good coach, you walk your talk. When you have crap and you got to get through it, you do that. And if you can't do it yourself, you call your friend coach, you hire another coach, whatever you do, you have to get through it. So I have hugely repaired my sense of worthiness. I am very, very aware finally now that I do not have consistent access to my energy. So when it's in a big flow state, I'll ride it until 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, woo! But then 3 weeks might go by where I'm just kind of putzing, I call it. I'm just sitting around, I'm not really doing anything big. And so I've learned to honor the natural ebb and flow of my energy where I didn't even know about that. I just had it in my head. I was conditioned, how are you, you work hard and then you get the stuff you want to get. And that's how you get to be successful. And I'm like, why do I have such an aversion to working hard? Well, it's to me, it's not the right way. Work natural is the way. But I didn't know about that back then. I had no idea.
Mhm.
So yeah. So now, you know, where's the prove myself still come in? And I think probably that comes in how I'm still probably taking that in about like marketing activities, right? You have to show and prove yourself, or else no one's going to click on your stuff so they can find you. But I have that's my logical sense says that. But then there's this other part of me that says, well, Linda, clicking on your stuff is not how the universe will bring them to you. The universe will bring them to you because they're meant to be brought to you. So that's a whole energetic thing. And it probably wouldn't matter if you even had a website or not,
Right.
but still,
Exactly.
I can spend
Exactly.
many
I
hours
love
on
that.
the website. So,
I'm sorry, sorry to talk. I'm just so excited because what you're saying is like exactly the power that somebody who, is in this struggle right now, who hasn't done all that self-discovery and gone through down the path that you've done, that they can come to human design, with the right guide, right? And see immediately just what these centers, where their gifts are and where they might be susceptible to the conditioning, and realize that they have a choice point. So oh, I lost it. What was they saying? The proving, when you get into that mode of, am I good enough? Self-sabotage, right? So ding, that should be a clue. When if you look on your human design chart, and for you it's bitterness, but for many, many people it's um, feeling frustrated if they're generator types. If
Mhm.
you're this keynote theme of bitterness is like a ding, oh, I'm feeling like this is unfair. Other people have it easier, all that stuff. When you're looking for those signals, you can say, okay, wait a minute. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna focus on where's my passion? Reconnecting to that passion. If you walk through your life knowing that you are an inspiration, you're bringing the inspiration, you are lit up around that, you're talking about it, you are the invitation, you are
Mhm.
the magnet. And so you can just readjust back to that passion, tapping into that and focusing in on that. And it's beautiful. It's a technique to realign into who you are. Um, so there's more that I can say about this. I have a starter guide on type, which is really where you want to start with understanding human design. But when I'm working with clients, I'm using my intuition. I'm like getting at that specific piece of the puzzle that they want to either stop having or moving towards.
Mhm.
The idea is it's not just you're not doing the right thing. There's other stuff hidden in there that you can say, oh, I hadn't considered that. And it creates a sense of empowerment.
Right. And I love that. And I think that when you learn about like learning about who you are and who you are naturally, everyone loves that. Like, oh yeah, oh yes, 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 yes. But what's different about human design than from many of the other um, assessment type things that we take is this conditioning. Um, and everyone's conditioned. Like that's what I'm doing as a coach. I'm unwinding the beliefs that and fears and insecurities that have been given to you by other people that you're taking on unknowingly, that now they're part of you and your core beliefs, even though you didn't enter into a contract to have them. And usually you're a child when you take them on. And so I'm helping people to unwind those things. And now I see this beautiful, correlation for not just a specific correlation is not even strong enough, like 100% correlation, I guess, to these undefined centers where, like you're conditioned to believe this and to think that and to do this, and I think it's really fascinating how these two things go really hand in hand. So once someone knows what they're conditioned to be doing, now this awareness, I always say awareness is the very beginning of everything. Once you're like, oh, that's why I do that. Now, like you said, that little ding, I can become aware. The not projected self that you talked about for me is bitterness, right? So I can think back about when I have felt bitterness, and every single time I can tell I'm doing something that's not in alignment with me. It does, right? I mean, that's pretty obviously. If it's not aligned, you're feeling bitter about it, right? So, and like what you said for generators, like almost all my clients are generators. It's crazy, but maybe it's not crazy because I believe projectors are here to be guides to generators. Is that correct? Um,
Yes, absolutely. We need
yeah.
your insight.
Yeah. So like every single one of them, they love the feeling of accomplishment. They want to check the boxes. They feel successful. Check, check, check. And when they can't check the boxes, or something else is in the way, the level of frustration is huge. And what I can help them with is we're talking about, let's talk through that frustration. What belief is behind that frustration? And it's always probably, and I don't know, I would be interested. You tell me, Is the not good enough, that center open in generators?
Well, so 7/8 of the population has that trying to prove
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
conditioning. And
Right.
so, and the ones who don't are like, I'm going to keep this promise that I made. And that people who break promises are, personally offending me. Kind of like I do what I say I'm going to do. So it can be a really interesting place to understand what the
Mm,
value is. Um, in relationship. I mean, there's a whole nother arena there is understanding relationships.
mhm,
So there's understanding oneself that starts first, but just like from a practical standpoint, the seeing that you're a projector and knowing that you're not here to be the Energizer Bunny. You probably had conditioning that said you're lazy if you rest. Maybe you felt bitter that like, I want to do what I want to do. I want to dream. I want to putz around. I want to just rest, restore, all of those things that just knowing that you're not meant to be the Energizer Bunny, that you get to follow your desire to putz around and that you can trust it. That's a huge practical piece to understand, right?
yes.
And
Huge.
it makes all the difference to keep you from burning out. A lot of times projectors burn out by 35
Mm,
because they're
yeah.
operating against their operating instructions. So
Right.
just knowing that, your type, that's a huge piece in starting to change how you're approaching life and what you expect of yourself. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I love this work that you're doing. I love that it's a parallel and in alignment with the things that I mentioned at the beginning about, we've got to know our worth. And when you do, you can stop, let's say prostituting yourself, right? That's what I call it. Um, and and release the things that we would call conditioning for human design, the beliefs that have been given to you that really aren't yours, and they go against your natural self. They prevent you from being your natural self, and then to align. That's such a huge thing in our lives. You can know something, but then you have to do something about it. You got to align what you're doing and how you're doing it around who you are. And I someday, if I say it enough, maybe I'll be noted for it someday. you know. But I have a quote and it goes like this: when you wrap what you're doing and how you're doing it around who you are, happiness and success will meet you there. And I truly believe it. And I recognize when I'm not living it. And that's my job, is to pull myself back in, like, okay, what you got, that's okay. We all fall off the wagon in some way here and there. Right. And then you just get back into alignment. Like, who am I? What am I doing? And how am I doing it? Right. And whenever it feels icky, that is like the most big clue. Hello, your GPS is like, oh, you went off course, make a U-turn. Right. So, we have this inner GPS. We have our beautiful minds that are our race cars to get us where we're going. And then human design is giving us the instruction manual for how we're wired. Such a beautiful thing to know. And so many beautiful resources we have at our disposal for this, to learn more about who we are so that we can align what we're doing and how we're doing it with that. And that is how we get our gifts out into the world, right?
yes. And I want to just encourage, if you're listening to this, and you're like, can I do this? I want to say, don't let your dream die, because here's one of my favorite quotes: what you're seeking is also seeking you. And if you slow down and just pause and check in, you will find your step by step by step. But you don't have to do it alone. So there's many ways to get there, but it's worth doing.
Oh, 100% it's worth doing. My life is flipped completely upside down from where it was. And then, and that's the thing. Some people will come to me saying, you exemplify how I want to feel. So I want some of that, And so the how I feel and how I move through life is 1,000% different than who I was before I was 45 years old. And so we really are here to do this work. And the thing is, I call it work, but it's not really. I mean, it is work, but it's the work is the gift, right?
Yeah.
It's the gift of um, just self-discovery. And yes, it can be scary to say, if I discover who I am, then I'm going to have to do something about it. But I say, but then you're going to want to do something about it, because you're going to love who you find. You're going to love who you find. And then the discovery piece, like itself, just keeps unfolding, and it keeps getting better and better. And when you show up better, when you know yourself better and you're all aligned, then you show up better in the world, in your relationships around you, for your family, for your friends, for your community. And these are what I talk about. This is what ripples are. So when you show up better, you are rippling, and you have an effect that you can't even know sometimes. It's the most beautiful thing. And that's what you and I are here helping the world do. We found how we're supposed to be making the splashes that ripple. And so, Kate, if someone wants to, learn more about their human design, and how to apply it, which because we can all go online and learn how to learn what it is. Like I did that, and I did a little research. Oh, projector, what's that mean? But like how to apply it, that no website's telling you that. We need a human who knows how to read. Because like you said, I mean, look at all those symbols. I'm like, A, I don't know what they mean, and B, I don't think I want to know what they mean. You tell me what I got to do with them. That's all. I want like the cliff notes. Right? so what can someone do? How can they learn more about how to apply it, and what to do with their human design and what it is?
So I have a starter guide, and it's called Align Your Energy Using Human Design. And it talks about what your type is. So it really starts with that. What is it? How does that create your strategy and authority? And so you can start there. But what I would say I love the most is the one-on-ones. And it's kind of like when you go to the physical therapist, you don't expect to have to know all about how the muscles are connected and all of that. You just want them to say, here's some exercises that are going to help you to feel better. And so that's what the sessions with me will allow you to do. You don't have to go through years and years of learning human design. So if that's something that's interesting to you, you can just check out my website too. But that starter guide is free and available for you.
Beautiful. Okay. So for our listeners, can you just tell them quickly where to get that? And then I'll also put it in the show notes.
Sure. You can go to katevarness.com /energy strategy.
Beautiful. Oh, good name too. Oh, yeah. All right. I like the strategy. Awesome. Well, Kate, this has been like such an amazing conversation. And I am so grateful that you have, like given me a little, I'll be the guinea pig, give me a little bit of, a little more information, which makes sense of so much of my past. I'm like, yeah, totally. And it really helped me out. And I'm excited to be moving forward. And I'm sure you and I will speak again, because I love your level of generosity and your energy. And it's been really beautiful to have you with me today.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure to be here.
All right. So, okay, this is our show. And once again, I'm Linda Bucher, a speaker and a master certified life coach, and I'm on a mission to inspire and impact millions of people to know their worth and share their gifts, deliberately creating big, beautiful ripples in the world. So, if you feel stuck or unworthy or unfulfilled or out of alignment in your life or career, I would love to help you discover what I already know. That is, you are the one you've been waiting for. And I'll help you to get out of your own way and back into alignment. You can connect with me through my website, lindabucher.com. And I'd like to thank Kate Varness, a certified coach in human design and a specialist. And she helps people, high achieving women specifically, to connect to their peace, their flow, and their purpose for being here. So I encourage you to reach out to Kate and learn a little bit more about how you're wired. And I want to thank you, devoted listener. You're lifelong learners. Thank you for sharing your time with Kate and me today. And until next time, please subscribe and make sure that you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.